All right, so welcome to May's monthly mini, how to hire, train, and retain respite providers for family caregivers. I am Val Madsen, the Training and Development Specialist at Respite Care Association of Wisconsin. And RCAW likes to do these monthly mini trainings. They last 30 to 40 minutes just to give some information to family caregivers or to respite providers or to agencies just to better support you and what you do. So to start off, I do have a poll question. Let's see if I can launch the poll just to find out who is with us today. So if you are able to check one or more of the options, you can check multiple, but just to let me know kind of what population is here so I can gear things one way or the other if I need to. All right, fantastic. Thank you, everyone. So it looks like we have family caregivers of both children and adults. Oh, let's share results so everyone can see it. Children and adults with disabilities, and we have a couple that are respite providers or provide services to caregivers. So perfect, that definitely helps. So this training today is definitely geared towards family caregivers and not towards agency recruitment because it is hard. It is very challenging time that we're living in right now. So this is a very pertinent topic. A few things, just kind of housekeeping things. If you have any questions, feel free to add them into the chat at any point in time. I'll answer them throughout, or if you have questions and you want to unmute yourself, you're welcome to do that as well. So whatever you are comfortable with, I do want this to be informative for you. We are recording it. Respite Care Association Wisconsin does have a YouTube channel, so you are able to watch this again if you missed any of the information. You also can go back and watch any of our past monthly minis so that all the information is available to you. Okay, so it is hard right now. Everyone is trying to, everyone in this field as a family caregiver is trying to figure out how to find support, how to find direct care workers, whether that's respite workers, whether that's personal care staff or CNAs, whoever it might be. It is really, really hard. So we'll talk a little bit about how to find those people, but then once you find someone, how to interview them to make sure you have a high quality person, how to train them so that you don't have the turnover, and then how to retain them so that you can keep them and really be able to support them in whatever way possible. So that is our game plan for today. So starting with how to find someone. So we are in a very weird time coming out of kind of a year of COVID. Everyone is hiring. As you go down the street, there are people that every business is hiring. Every business is struggling. This is without a doubt one of the most challenging times to try to find a respite provider. So one thing that you have to look at is why would someone choose to work for your family or choose to work with your child or choose to work with your adult when there's so many options out there. I apologize for my puppy dog. I live right on a bike trail, and so anytime that someone comes past, he definitely lets me know. So it should stop very shortly. So figuring out why they should work with your family. So maybe it's flexible scheduling. Maybe it's being able to fit into other positions. And I know some of us don't have that ability to be that flexible because you need so many hours covered. You need to find that support. But it's just a really hard spot this year where I think we're going to have to be more flexible and be more open to a variety of other options and other thoughts. Unfortunately, right now, again, as I said, it's hard. The Wisconsin Personal Services Association, which is primarily personal care agencies, just released a survey that they did. And again, these are agencies, but 1 out of 3 agencies currently have 10 or more caregiver positions open, and over 50% have more than 7 openings. There's a huge increase in the need for care. And oftentimes personal care overlaps with respite. And so I think it's really important to realize that it's hard, and there's no magic trick. I'm not going to give you anything magical, but just trying to figure out how we can best support you in your search. So keep an open mind. I've worked with a lot of caregivers in the past that really want someone with a lot of experience. Be open-minded. You might miss out on someone who's willing to learn, someone who's willing to take a chance or wanting to go into this field. And it could be a really great person. So being open-minded to students who are looking at going into the field, maybe people right out of high school, people that have energy and just want to support your child or your adult in whatever way they can. Think about, swim teachers that might work in the area. Again, if you can have some flexible scheduling, that might be a benefit for people. Think about who is already in your life. Maybe it's high school student workers. So often, and I know waiver funds don't pay for people under 18, but seniors, maybe it's someone who works with elementary schools. Granted, I do realize it's a COVID year, so it didn't happen often where high schoolers were working directly with the elementary schools because everyone was very put in pods and kept in pods, or a lot of communities haven't or are just going back to in-person schooling now. So you have less of a pool to pull from in that population as well. Teachers, assistants, paraprofessionals, try the college campuses. You can post on job boards for again, looking at where are those programs. So does this tech school in my area have an OTA program, occupational therapy assistance program? Does this school have a CNA program? Maybe that's a route I want to go. But figuring out what colleges might have professions that would match with a caregiving profession. Rec program staff, looking at your summer rec programs in your area. Again, everyone's looking for workers, so that's going to be challenging. But Respite Care Association of Wisconsin does have a respite care registry on our website, and I'll dig into that in a little bit and show you around that. You are able to search by county. We are in the process of building that. So like everyone else, we want to provide as many people as possible that are interested in working and in working in in-home respite situations. So we'll go into that. Some counties don't have a lot of people, and that's just and we're really focusing our recruitment efforts on those counties. So hopefully we'll be able to really increase those in the next few months. The other thing is knowing ahead of time what you want in a respite provider. If you know what you need, what qualities you're looking for, that will help your search. If you can be very specific about, I'm really looking for these particular things, that will help you significantly in your job post, in finding someone. It will save your time. It will save people's time that are applying for jobs. And we do have some worksheets. And again, once I get into the website, we'll dig around and I'll show you all of those. I will put all of these links in the chat as well so that you have them. But we do have some worksheets on how to hire a respite provider and what things to think about or what things to look for or what you want. So then screening, again, no, I don't have any good, magical, this is where you find someone. It's really hard. Talk to the people you know. Once you have some interest, make sure you interview them. The interview is really the start of the training program or start of your training. Making sure that you're giving a complete and honest description of the care that the care recipient needs. Don't skip over challenging behaviors or medical needs. This is often why respite providers or direct care professionals won't stay with a family, because they weren't given all the information. They find themselves in situations that they were not prepared for, and they'd rather know that ahead of time. Not only are you interviewing them, but they are also interviewing you to make sure it is a good fit for them and it will be a positive relationship back and forth. Ask about past experiences with people with disabilities, with kids in general. Maybe talk about specific situations and ask how they would respond. With that, I think situations is on the next slide. Ask for references and follow up with references. That's really important. Sometimes you have a great interview and you are very confident, but if you contact a reference, oh, there's a little, this is an issue. So just be aware of that. When you talk about situations and ask some of those questions, realize that this person might not have been in that situation before. So it might not be the way you want them to respond, but what you're looking for is creativity. Are they asking the right questions? Are they making a common sense response? And really looking for any red flags. For example, if your child has seizures, and so you ask how they would respond in a seizure, if your child had a seizure, and they say, I'd stick something in their mouth, that could be a red flag, because that's kind of general first aid. If they say, oh, they're fine, I'll just ignore it and come back and check on them in a couple minutes, that would be a big red flag. If their response is, well, I would follow whatever directions you would give me, well, granted, that's not a great answer, but that is a great answer because they want to know more. So just being aware of answers might not be exactly what you want, but you're giving them situations that they might find themselves in, along with being able to get some feedback on those things as well. Again, worksheets, we have interview questions. We have a worksheet so that you can think about some of those situations and how to phrase it. And then also a worksheet about getting to know me, specifically about the care recipient, that you would be able to share with someone during the interview process. And that's a really handy worksheet as well. Part of the interview process should also be meeting the care recipient. Introduce the potential worker to the care recipient. Don't do it the first time you're ever going to leave them alone. Again, you want to set the worker up to stay and to keep them and have a high quality worker. So the worker might observe how you interact with your loved one. That will help them pick up some tips and tricks as well. Talk about likes, dislikes, all of that information. Kind of watch some of the interactions between the worker and care recipient, and then go to the bathroom, move out of the room just to see, because some people are very nervous if you're hovering. And I know that's really hard as a caregiver to not hover because you want to make sure everything is good. But you have to trust in order to have a good worker and have someone that will stay. But leave the room and let them get to know each other as well. And then closing the interview, ask questions, ask the respite worker if they have any questions. Don't leave anything open that you're not sure of, where you really would like to know that, but you didn't ask. So try to really have that open communication. If there was a red flag answer, but everything else was good, maybe ask them to expand on that, to give you more information, so that you have a full picture of what's going on. And then background checks. If the worker is being paid through an agency, then the agency will typically run the background check. So if they're being paid with waiver forms, then they'll run the background check for you. If you're paying out of pocket, then it is recommended that you run your own background check. Different states have different laws. Wisconsin is an open record state, so you can go to the Department of Justice website and run your own caregiver respite caregiver background check for a small fee. It's like $10, but then you have that information. So I mentioned a little bit about if someone's paid through an agency or not. Even if you have an agency, I'm sure you have discovered that they are not, they are very short on workers as well. So typically you still have to find your own provider, even if you are through an agency, which again is just one of those really challenging times that we're all going through. Don't see any questions in the chat yet. Again, feel free to put anything in the chat as we go. And then we'll also do some questions at the end. Okay, so training providers. So now you found someone really good, which is exciting. Now let's train them, not throw them in over their heads, because you want to keep this person. You want to make sure things go smooth right away. Respite is there so that you can have a break, and it's not a break if you aren't comfortable leaving the person with someone, or if you're being called back all the time because you haven't given them enough information. Just because someone has experience working with someone with a disability doesn't necessarily mean they are ready to work with the care recipient right away, because every person is different. Person-centered care, really making sure that you're training on your child. I can talk to you all day about autism, and I have lots of experience working with individuals with autism. That doesn't tell me how I should work with this individual. So making sure that you really are giving the information that will help that person succeed. Things to include is specific items. So whether it's, seizures or G-tubes, medical procedures, challenging moments, how to respond, how to use a communication device. That is one of the most common things that is forgotten to be shown, because you just assume that everyone knows. And I also think that caregivers, you guys do this all the time. You know how to care for your loved one without thinking about it, because you do it all the time. So taking a step back and thinking about the things that you do that you might need to tell someone else about. We do have a training checklist on our kit for caregivers as well, which has hopefully a lot of topics that will help you figure out what things to cover. There's also something called a respite binder or care binder. This can be done in a variety of different ways. It could be used as an actual binder. It could be a file folder, whatever it is. But some families like to keep all of the care information in one spot. This could include doctor information, medication information, any care workers or teacher information, behavior plans, seizure plans, history of medical conditions, hospitalizations. So then that information is all there. So it can go with the doctor. It can go with the care recipient to someone to on an ambulance ride if there's an ER call. It could be there as a communication log. Maybe part of it is the respite provider writes how things are, how things went for the day. And then there can be communication between the different workers or between the parents and the worker. So there's lots of different ways to do it. If you search care binder, they do have some that come up. I'm going to show you one that was created specifically for respite care. It is geared towards children and more medical based, but it can definitely be adapted for use with adults. It has some really good worksheets that you can fill out right in the PDF and print them off. So just a really great resource. Additional training, think about CPR and first aid. Those classes should be up and running again. And so, seeing if that is something that's important to you. We also offer a free online training. It's 10 modules called the Respite Care Certificate Program. And we meet all of the requirements that CLTS and Medicaid has for respite providers. So we have some counties that send any new respite providers through our training. It's online, it's at their own pace, and it really does cover that wide variety of information. but you also want to make sure to talk about the specifics of your care recipient and the things that they need. So looking into some of those specialty trainings as well. And that's something we try to work with as an association, is having opportunities for continuing education for respite providers. Paying for conferences, to go to the autism conference or Alzheimer's conference, so that they have opportunities to learn more information and really be able to grow in their development as well. Some final thoughts on training. Make sure you're specific. If you want something done a certain way, make sure you share that. Don't assume that the respite provider knows how you want something done. And also be open to knowing that there's more than one way to approach something. It's okay if one way works for one person and one way works for another person. That's really hard sometimes to see that it can be different options for different people. But my kids respond differently to me than they do my husband. I approach them differently than he does. That's okay. So there might be, as long as it's done in a safe, respectable way, and you still get the job done, it's okay to let go and not do everything your specific way. So be specific if it needs to be specific, especially medical needs or safety wise, but be open to, I wouldn't have done it that way, but I got the job done, so I'm okay with it. And now keeping those workers, that is really hard. There is a huge turnover in providers, and part of that is lack of support. And I get it, caregiving is a hard job. You live it 24/7. You don't want to support someone else. But if you can work with your provider as a team, having open communication will really help that. Allowing them to talk through tough situations without you being judgmental on how they may have responded. Being open to tell me what you did. Oh, I did that once. It didn't work at all. I definitely know where you come from. Because you didn't do everything right the first time around either. But if you don't have that communication with your respite provider, they aren't going to feel supported. They aren't going to stick around. And they're going to feel like they're just kind of hanging out there by themselves. And it can be very scary if you're dealing with medical situations, if you're dealing with some challenging behaviors. Get to know your provider. Ask what is going on in their life. Again, making sure you still have that employer-employee relationship, but there is nothing wrong with asking, oh, you're taking a summer class, how's that going? Or, oh, it was your birthday, what did you do? Whatever it might be, show an interest in their life. They're coming into your home, they're becoming part of your family. Make sure that they feel valued and important as well. When they do a good job, let them know. This is something so small that can mean so much. But just having someone recognize, hey, you did a really good job with this situation. I really liked how you did this, this, and this. That makes me feel important. That makes me feel valued. That makes me feel like someone cares. Something like that will really help someone. Also find out what motivates your provider. Each person is different. So maybe it's praise like that really motivates someone. Maybe it's having, you have the coffee pot started before they get there. And that's what motivates, that again, knowing that provider and how to connect with them, how to motivate them. We all know respite is not a high paid profession. So you are not going to get providers that are there for the money. They're there, because of flexible scheduling. They're there because it's their calling. They really enjoy this population, but it's not something that they're doing for the money. So figuring out how to support them and how to connect with them is really important. Respect boundaries, set boundaries, stick to your schedule. If you're running late, let the provider know right away. Try not to cancel last minute. Try not to, hey, can you come in, in half an hour? I really need this. That is oftentimes why a provider also quits. They're calling me all the time, or they're never on time. I have been late to other things because they are never on time. And watch for burnout. Don't overuse your worker. I know it's hard if you only have one worker, but figuring out how to protect them so that you don't lose them. And that's really important as well. There is a great direct service professional toolkit that I will also put the links on the message board for you as well. So one of the questions, any ideas about advertising for help on social media? This is great. I have seen a lot of ads in like the community groups. So figure out in your town or in your community, there's lots of different groups. I'm in a very small town and my town has one, the next town has one, the town, you know, on the other side has one, because of, again, small community. And again, put what you're looking for. Post in those community groups. Hey, I'm looking for, especially right now for summer workers, you know, and something, know what you want and put it out there so that they're able to have the information that they need. And so you can find a good fit. Oftentimes you see in those social media posts on Facebook that they are shared with other people. So that they're able to maybe, and honestly, that's how I got my first job in this field, is my mom saw an ad, and it was before the days of Facebook, a long time ago, but my mom saw an ad and she's like, oh, this would, I think you would really like this. And that's how she passed it on. And I started working at the Easter Seal Summer Camp. And that's not something I would have found, but it's something that really intrigued me once I heard about it. So putting that information out there, putting, you know, what you're looking for, the flexibility, if you're looking for specific hours, a little bit about your child, you know, or your adult that you're caring for. You know, I'm looking for someone, you know, on Monday through Friday afternoons, flexible scheduling. So if you can only do 1 or 2 afternoons, that's fine. We'll work with your schedule, whatever it looks like. We are also working on our end with Respite Care Association, an opportunity for caregivers to post. So we have a registry where providers can post that they're available. We are also going to have the opportunity for you to post if you need help. So then our trained providers can search that way as well. So we're really excited about that. We're hoping that will be live in the next couple of weeks. But again, anything with databases and website management, I can't ever promise a timeline, but we are really excited about that. As soon as that is live, we will definitely send that out. And hopefully that can be another tool to do some advertising for yourself as well. So there's my information. I'll stick that in the chat as well, but let me hop over to some of those things that I was talking about. Let's see. All right, so on our website, if you go under training and then kit for caregivers, there is information here with the worksheets. So all of the worksheets are here. Again, just click on them. You can download them, print them. Here's the gain to know you. So, you know, important people in our life, typical day, what other people have said they like, you know, information like that. Things to think about, what you need, what qualities you want. So again, really looking at all of the different things that would be helpful for you. So those worksheets are all in the kit for caregivers. And let me, while I'm thinking about it, let me pop these links all in the chat. I lost the chat box. Chat. Okay, so they're in the chat so that you have them. The CNF Foundation has a Respite Care notebook. The link takes you to this page, but when you click on it, it is a notebook that has fillable forms. Again, this is more for children, so a specific, the visit today or your care today, but then there's also sections on, you know, here's all the information you need to know. Here's my phone numbers, the siblings, pets. When things don't go well, this is what you should do. All of that information is in here. And then the last toolkit that I mentioned was Find, Choose, and Keep Great DSPs. This was done by the University of Minnesota. This is also a really good book. It's geared towards any direct service providers. So it is definitely written for even if you are searching for a service provider for yourself, you know, whether it's a personal care worker, or respite worker, but this has a lot of really good information in it as well. So I definitely recommend going in and searching that also. The other thing I wanted to mention before I jump into more questions is we do have some grant programs with Respite Care Association of Wisconsin. Our caregiver grant, respite grant program in particular. So maybe you find someone, that high school student or a family member that won't be covered by the waiver funds. We are able to pay for some of that care. So if it is something that your waiver funds won't cover the provider that you have found, this could be an option. We also have a new grant program called the Supplemental Respite Grant Program. And this can help caregivers by providing up to $250 every quarter for supplemental services. So this might be hiring someone for housekeeping, meal prep, laundry, lawn care, snow removal, because we believe that having someone help with these activities is a respite in a different way. So I just want to share with you those specific grant programs. Definitely take a look at those. They could be helpful to you and your family. So questions. I know I went through a lot of different stuff. I do very much appreciate and realize that a lot of people are at that very beginning. How do I find someone? And unfortunately, there's not a good answer because everyone is looking for workers and looking for support. So it's figuring out, you know, with the social media ads or posting on a job board, making sure you know what you want, making sure that you are open to, you know, if you can be flexible and work with people's schedule, people will appreciate that. Though I know that's sometimes hard because you need care at certain times. But if you don't have anyone at all, then you're stuck. And so it's just a really hard time. And I want to acknowledge to caregivers, you guys are in a really, really tough spot. And we are trying to do as much as we can. We're trying to get the information out about respite as much as possible. But really finding an in-home provider is very hard. There's also not the option of community-based respite as much as there has been in the past because of limits on number of people or capacities. So some of the summer camps are really hard and because they are only serving half capacity, or some of the respite centers that are day services that you have been able to take your loved one to just are not available to do that. So just be aware that we know it's hard. We're going to try to continue to help as much as we can. And that's why we're looking at the caregiver posting so that you can be active in posting the needs that you have. So questions, if you have questions, feel free to unmute or put them in the chat box. There is a question. When you do have a provider and they're in your home from 9 to 3, are we responsible to feed them? No, that is not a requirement. That is something that would be nice though. You know, or making sure that they know upfront that they would have to bring their own meal. Again, respite providers are not making a whole lot of money. And I've also found that it can be challenging if the provider is eating something different than the respite participant, because the respite participant keeps trying to get the provider's food. So that could be a cause of a behavior issue. If you have someone that is G-tube fed and so maybe you don't feed them food, they don't take anything by mouth, you might not think about making sure that the provider has food. So no, you're not responsible for it, but that is one of those ways that you could retain someone and support them in whatever way that you can so that they stick around and they stay as part of your family, or work with your loved one for a while. Good question. Any other questions? Okay, I just put my email in the chat again so that you have it. But if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at any point in time. Again, we are perfect on time, right around 40 minutes, which is right what we want to be for these monthly minis. We are working on our summer schedule, so we will let you know soon what the upcoming monthly minis are. And we also are really looking forward to this next year. You know, our year is starting in the summer, and some of the programs that we're able to continue to offer. So definitely check out Respite Care Association. All of our programs are free. We want to give you support. We want to give you resources. We want to support you. We also want to support the respite providers. So by sending them to us to take that training, we're able to support them as well. So thank you so much for coming. Again, feel free to reach out at any point in time, or if you have individual questions, let me know. I'll stay on a couple minutes after I turn off the recording. But have a wonderful Friday. Hopefully it stops raining, though we definitely need rain. So I think the rain is good, but hopefully it ends. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.